we are pleased to be joined by Nick from Blue Jays Today. This is awesome. Thank you for coming on, Nick.
Thank you for having me, boys. I'm excited to be here.
So we're just going to ask you a few questions about the Blue Jays right now, because there's a lot to talk about with this team right now. And you talked about it a little bit in your video today, but there's a lot to unpack with this team right now. Yeah. And then so first of all, your video today obviously was about the Vladdy and Bichette trade rumors and how Ross Atkins has literally just exposed himself and how he got exposed by Mark Feinsand, I think. What
Yep.
do you think about the Bichette Guerrero trade rumors? What do you think a reasonable return on those guys is? And do you feel comfortable with Atkins making that trade of all people?
Well, I'm gonna let me work backwards first and start with the Atkins thing because I think that it all kind of there's a domino effect that happens, with all of those questions. Ross Atkins, I mean, even if this team somehow goes on some magical run and everyone turns it on and the hitters start hitting and the bullpen starts bullpenning and doing what it is that they're supposed to do and locking it down, even if all those things happen and this team somehow does make playoffs, I still don't feel like Ross Atkins is the guy that is gonna take this organization and put them on a World Series trajectory. And I think that we have had enough of an opportunity to see what it is that he's capable of doing as a GM, and I just don't think that he is going to be able to take us to that quote unquote next level, as they like to put it. So if there ever was going to be a trade of Vlad and Bo, if that does happen this season, which we'll get to, and I can give you my 2 cents on that. If that does go down, like, he can't be the guy doing it because I don't want his imprint, I don't want his philosophy being put on this team any further than it already has been. And if you're going to do a Bo and Vlad trade, that effectively means we are entering a retool, we are entering a rebuild, and whoever is going to be navigating that rebuild and that retool for this team, I don't want it to be him. So that's the first thing right there, and I think that that is the most important thing for me. In terms of a return, it's really difficult because, I mean, I think we can all agree, right? Like Vlad and Bo, this isn't their season. This isn't the best that we've ever seen them do. They could accomplish a lot more at the dish, and who knows? Maybe a month later down the line, we're looking at Vlad, and now he's an all-star again, and he always has that potential, but I do think that whatever it is that you trade for them at this point, even though they do have a year left on their deal, it's going to be a little bit less than Blue Jays fans are hoping for. So I suppose it's difficult to really pinpoint exactly what I want back, but probably you're looking at some young and some promising talent that you think you can mold into somebody special and hope that they can turn out a little bit better later down the line. So that's kind of my 2 cents on the deal side of things. The fan in me, though, and I want to hear your guys' take on this as well. Just the fan in me, though, it does hurt seeing that this is potentially a pathway that this team could go. I know that the background is messed up right now, guys, but if you see in our background, normally on Blue Jays Today, we got the Guerrero jersey and we got the Bo Bichette jersey behind us, right? Like these are our guys, and to see them leave, that would obviously be a blow on not only this team and the production, but just like from a fan standpoint, it would kind of suck. So I get why their names are on the block, but yeah, I mean it would hurt to see this team enter in to that rebuild. What do you guys think? Would you be okay with moving on from them?
So to me, it's interesting because obviously if you were to trade Vladdy or Bo right now, you would get a much better return than you would if you were to trade them next year at the trade deadline. But at the same time, like you said, this is our core, and apparently we're not going to the next level anymore. We're going to the core, whatever that means. And then, but yeah, so like they are our guys, and I remember how you used to have a Manoah jersey up there as well, before he got demoted last.
Had to turn that one around, man.
And then, but yeah, so I don't think Atkins is the guy to make the trade, though. One thing Ross Atkins has shown, though, is that he's a great rebuilding GM. He can rebuild a team. He did that after Alex Anthopoulos got left off, but I do not feel comfortable after what he did after trading, especially after Moreno and Gurriel. I don't feel
Mhm.
comfortable with him trading away guys like Vladdy and Bo.
Okay, so Nick, the next question is there anyone to blame for this Blue Jays slow start?
Yeah, everyone. Literally,
Yeah,
it's there's no one guy in my opinion that you can pinpoint and you can say it's all your fault. And I mean, I'm sure that you guys are, if you watch our content, then you're probably on the Twitter and Instagram and everything
yeah,
like that. You see the comments. People are, they attack John Schneider, and when Vladimir Guerrero Jr. makes an error at first base and it goes through his glove or it pops out, because let's face it, guys, that does happen. I mean, we're attacking Vladdy and, DFA, he's got to go. And I mean, the fact of the matter is, like, it's all of the above, right? John Schneider's not great. Ross Atkins isn't great. The hitting has been subpar. The starters are maybe the one area that you can look at for the most part and say, okay, you guys are pulling your weight. You're doing what you need to do, right? Yes, there is there's been some bumps and bruises along the way so far. I mean, some guys have not gotten off to the start that I think we'd hope for, but for the most part, the starters are good. But like, what the hell's going on with the bullpen? We had an incredible bullpen last
yeah,
year. Now all of a sudden, right, it's like we can't hold a lead to save our lives. So, I mean, I think it's all of the above, and that's what makes this so difficult, because there is no easy fix at the trade deadline. It's not like we can say, because in years prior, right, we walked into the trade deadline, we go, okay, well, we need a bullpen guy and we need a power lefty. Let's
yeah,
go get it. We get those guys. We're making it all the way. That's not where we're at right now. It's a different team. It's a different philosophy. It is a completely different season. We need so many different things right now, and that is why, even though we just thumped the White Sox yesterday, which was
yeah.
phenomenal to see, it is very difficult to jump on this train right now and to feel confident about this team moving forward. But I'm curious to hear, like, if you guys have an argument for why it is, somebody's, full to blame or full problem here, like, please, like, let me hear it, guys.
Well, what I found interesting is that like during the off season, especially in spring training, what the front office said to us as fans all the time was the improvement's going to come from new coaching, the improvement's going to come from IKF and Justin Turner, and there's going to be a new hitting philosophy. And obviously, I don't think you can expect IKF to do much more than what he's doing right now, because IKF is who he is. Justin
Mm-hmm.
Turner, obviously, he's gotten off to a slow start. We'll ask about that, and then, but the improvement hasn't come. Vladdy's gotten off to a hot start, but then Turner slows down, and then obviously Bichette hasn't had a great start in the bullpen. So I agree that it's a collective thing, but I do think that the front office could have done a bit more in the offseason to try and combat the problem so that we're not facing this problem right now.
So you're
Yeah.
saying, like in general, then, obviously there is a lot of guys to blame, but the front, like, this stems all the way back for you to the off season when we
Yeah,
didn't get Otani, when we didn't get, name all the guys like Juan
yeah.
Soto, right? There were so many different guys that we were in on. When we didn't get those guys, that's where this started for you.
Yeah, I remember it was you or Adam, I forget who, but you guys made a skit of like where it was Atkins, Shapiro, and Boris, and you were talking like, no, we're still interested. We're still interested. And that seems to be like the story of the off season. It was very frustrating.
Yeah, like, they never wanted to pull the trigger, but we were in every single conversation. They just never actually finished.
Yeah, and I've said this a lot in the podcast that the Jays were really focused on Otani and didn't really go out for those kind of players that they needed to get those clutch hits, kind of like Danny
Mhm.
Jansen. And like they got IKF, but what's that really going to do?
Yeah. Well, I said this a lot in the off season, and and at the time, like, I was saying it, and I'd say, like, I kind of believed it, but now looking in hindsight, like, it is actually the way that it happened. I was a little worried about the Toronto Blue Jays being so all in on Shohei Otani, because it did feel like you were really putting all your eggs in one basket, right?
Right.
Like, if that guy didn't get on that plane and didn't come to Toronto, which he didn't do, right? He ended up in LA. You were kind of screwed over for the rest of the offseason, because while you were looking at Otani and trying to make that deal happen and trying to get him here long term, other guys were slowly signing with other teams. Other players were, like, talking with their agencies and looking at other landing spots for themselves. And the second that Shohei Ohtani signed, now, it was like, what was it, like mid-December, and you're sitting there and you're going, oh crap, like we haven't done anything yet,
Yeah.
and like, what is our plan now? What's our backup strategy? And I do think that is part of how everything else then fell out. Getting Kiermaier and IKF, like that feels like the C strategy that the Toronto Blue Jays had walking into the offseason. Obviously, Ohtani was the A plan. They missed out on the B plan, and then they had to pivot again and try to do this thing and salvage something. And we're seeing the results right now.
So Vladdy's starting to heat up, as you know. But after Justin Turner's hot start, he started to slow down. What do you think we should expect from him going forward?
I like Justin Turner a lot because, like, I'm a big like plate approach guy, and I like to see what they're doing. And that's why I think I get on Bo Bichette so much because, let's face it, like this guy walks in with one strategy and is, I am going to swing at literally everything. And if it doesn't go, then it's not going. And I'm going to be sitting on the bench very soon. So that's what pisses me off about his game. When he's going, though, like, you can't say anything. And so far, it's been a slow start. For Justin Turner, what I like so much about him and his game is that even when he's slumping, and, let's not get it twisted, he has been bad at baseball over the past, like, 3 weeks or so. He's not been good. Me and Adam were looking at the stats the other day, and I mean, in the month of May, which we are now 23 days in, pretty sure he's batting well below 100. So he's not been very good in the last little bit, but he works the pitcher really, really well, right? I think that he's the guy on this Toronto Blue Jays team that you can always look to and go, you're going to take a pitch, you're going to foul some off, maybe you might not get on base, but, you are going to get 5 or 6 or 7 pitches from this guy. You're going to make him work for your out. So that, to me, I look at and I go, that's a winning formula. I think it's going to turn around for him. And then also we got to factor in, I mean, the guy is a veteran. He's been around this league forever. I know that age is a factor, but I also think when you get to that point in your career, he just knows this game so well at this point. Like, the numbers are going to turn around, and I do think the ball is going to fall. I don't know when it's going to happen, but I still feel confident that Justin Turner is going to be an above-average hitter for us by the end of the year.
He does remind me a little bit of Matt Chapman, at least right now. And after what you said, obviously that's what every Blue Jays fan is thinking. That's what a lot of us know. So, like, we know that Turner isn't going to hit 180 for the rest of the season because that's just not who he is. That's not what he's shown himself to be over whatever it is, his, like, 12-year career or something.
Mm-hmm.
But then to bring back some offense to this Blue Jays team, obviously we have Aurelvis Martinez down in AAA. He's been mashing. What would he, if you were the general manager, what would you do about Aurelvis Martinez? Would you keep him down in Buffalo or would you call him up?
Yeah, it is. It's a really tough one, right? Because, the Jays, they're in this really tough spot, this almost limbo land right now, where you are trying to figure out, are we still going for it this year, or are we cutting our losses and we're going to be sellers at the trade deadline, and we are going to engage in those Vladdy and Bo trade talks very seriously. So it's difficult. I think at this rate, like, let's face it, guys, if the Toronto Blue Jays continue to be bad, then Aurelvis Martinez is going to get his chance because we're going to trade guys away at the trade deadline. There's going to be spots on this team to fill, and he's going to come up and he's going to get several months of baseball. If you're really still going for it, it is a tough one because, I mean, I'm getting kind of fed up with Danny Burgers. I'll be honest, guys. I am starting to get a little sick and tired of Danny Burgers. He had a great game the other day, but our DH can't be batting 160 or whatever it is that he's batting right now, So I think that there's a clear turnaround right there. The guy that I've always looked at was Spencer Horwitz, and I thought to myself, that guy's been really good in the minor leagues right now. He plays first base. You could easily swap Daniel Vogelbach and Spencer Horwitz to do that. I'd say like if in the next week or so, if the Toronto Blue Jays hitting, like if this White Sox series didn't spark something for them, then you enter into full panic mode, and now it's cut whoever, bring up whoever, like let's try anything because in 3 weeks' time we're going to be out of the race.
Yeah, that's also like let's not kid ourselves because the White Sox are the worst team in baseball. They have the worst offense in baseball. Obviously, we win 9-2, I think it was yesterday, and that
Yeah.
was a pretty fun game to watch because it's always a lot more fun when the offense is doing well and when they're hitting. But to me, obviously, like we saw a lot from them yesterday, but to me, it highlighted the inconsistency of the offense this year, especially after not scoring anything, after not scoring any runs the day before.
Yeah.
Overall, how do you think this offense could improve, or what do you see as the biggest holes or problems in the offense right now? Because obviously, that was the first home run out of the cleanup spot, which was the hole until yesterday, and hopefully, it's not a weakness the rest of the year. But it was definitely a weakness up until last night.
Well, for me, and I'm not a professional hitting coach, and I always got to say that, right? Because like you hear Joe Siddle talk about things, and
Yeah.
like that guy knows his ball. But for me, and I've been breaking down baseball for several years now, it looks like there just isn't a strong approach on this team when they start the baseball game. And I think, if you guys have been watching our live streams, we'll say it time and time again where, it's first pitch swinging. Well, now it's a pop up and you're out. And then, first pitch swinging, ground out, right? There's no element of like taking a couple pitches, waiting this guy out, trying to be patient at the dish, looking for your pitch. Like, what are you attacking? When I watch Guerrero sometimes, I have no idea. I don't know what he's sitting on. I don't know what he wants. Does he want the fastball? Does he want an off speed? I have no idea, right? And you should, watching these guys, you should know, right? I used to remember several years ago when Alejandro Kirk was an all-star, that guy never swung at anything that wasn't a fastball. It was fastball or it was nothing. And he had one of the best approaches on the team, and it was so defined, and it worked. It worked, and he was great at it, right? He had an amazing year that year. Where is your approach now, Alejandro? Like I don't know. So I think that there's an element of patience. I think that there is an element of just we don't really have a game plan here. I would also say like, and it's tough, right? It is tough. You're down now. You are below 500. You're last in the division. You're going to start to press and you're going to start to push. And we've seen this team before, right? Like we on a smaller scale. When the Toronto Blue Jays get down in a game, when they're down by 2 or 3 runs, you can turn it off because it's over.
Exactly.
Right? They don't come back. And now we're seeing it on a larger scale where, well, now they're down by 4 or 5 games on the season to even get back to 500, right? So how are they going to respond? So far, I'm seeing them do a lot of pressing, do a lot of pushing, kind of getting in their heads a bit. So it's a lot of things. There's a lot of problems. There's a lot of things that need to be solved.
Do you think anything needs to be changed on the defensive side of their game?
Well, I mean, the guys that I look at the most defensively that, have not been great is honestly Bo and Vlad. And I think that, like you've locked in, you've had these guys for 5 years now. This is who they are defensively. And I think the Toronto Blue Jays management has just kind of expected we're going to get a couple errors from these guys, time and time again. It is going to happen. I think, defensively speaking, around the rest of the diamond, things are really good. One thing that we have not been able to figure out all season long, and I literally said this in the first series, like game 1, I think it was, against Tampa Bay, the stolen base is just free on the Toronto Blue Jays. Like,
Base charity, right?
That's what it feels like, right? It feels like that Oprah meme where it's like you get one, like everybody gets one, and it's just like we're just giving them out. And I honestly get worried sometimes when the catcher, whether it be Danny Jansen or Alejandro Kirk, even throws it down to second base, because knowing our defense, there's a good chance that thing is going to the outfield, and now he's taking third. So that is an area where I'd say absolutely, like we do need to make some adjustments there. But overall, you got to give Ross Atkins credit where credit is due. The guy prioritized defense. Defensively speaking, we are pretty damn good at baseball.
What do you think Yariel Rodriguez's role will be once he comes off the IL?
Yario Rodriguez, I was really excited about him when they signed him in the offseason, because that to me was a guy that has a lot of upside, and I think like could be really good for us down the line. But for now, I think that they used him off the top of the season as a starter just to bridge that gap of, can we get Alec Manoa back? Kevin Gosman was dealing with a little something something right off the top of the season, so it was like, we need some innings. Let's try him out. I think because you have him locked down for several years, they're going to want to be cautious with him. So it's probably going to be a bullpen role. And honestly, I'm okay with that, because at this point, like, I do want him to develop into a starter eventually. But if you look at it, the starters, for the most part, have been pretty good at baseball. The bullpen needs help, right? Like Genesis Cabrera, that guy, we can't be throwing him out anymore, right? Like, and that's not even a disrespect to him, but like, that guy's probably like, he's just in too deep right now. Like, he needs some time off, right? There's other guys in the bullpen as well where it's like, we probably got to bump some guys down. And Yariel Rodriguez coming in is great because, well, he can give you 2 or maybe even 3 innings, similarly to a Trevor Richards. And then maybe you can save Trevor Richards for maybe some more high leverage situations. So I think it's going to be a bullpen role, and considering where the team's at right now, I'm cool with that.
Do you think Trevor Richards can be trusted in those high leverage situations?
More than Tim Meza or Genesis Cabrera right now, right? It's like, we're in a spot where a lot of the guys that we should be trusting are struggling, right? Like, what is going on with Eric Swanson?
Yeah,
What
I was about to ask about that because, like, I don't know what happened to him, right?
it feels to me like he just, because similarly to Romano, right? He started the year on the IL, and then maybe he didn't get enough starts and everything like that. So you give him the benefit of the doubt, and you go, okay, well, he hasn't been warmed up yet. He's still getting into the rhythm. But now it's May 23rd, right? It's May 23rd, and I'm pretty confident. I haven't looked at his numbers in a little bit, but I'm pretty confident his ERA is still over 10, which just is not great. So that's a guy that we need to turn it around. And we're kind of stuck in this situation where until he does, and until Tim Meza does, because Tim Meza was great for us last year, guys who typically I wouldn't love to throw into high leverage situations, you kind of have to. And Trevor Richards, credit where credit is due, has been pulling his weight this year. So he is one of those guys, I think.
Do you think like the mental game has an effect on their players? Because I've been talking about this in the podcast as well, that it kind of looks like something's just not clicking in their head mentally at the plate and pitching.
Yeah, I think well, for everyone it's different, because I think that there's, like, mental game is such a broad spectrum, right?
Right.
And for some people, right, you get in your head because you're nervous, and you've been, let's say you're 0 for 20 in your last 5 games or something like that. Well, now I'm in my head, I really got to get a hit. And that's definitely true for some guys. But I would argue that there's also a mental element of lack of effort sometimes on this team. And specifically the player that I'm looking at, granted, he has been turning it around this past series, great series against Chicago White Sox, so hopefully it's a turning point. But I mean, Bo Bichette has looked just like he doesn't care.
He's lost.
That's the thing, right? Like, he looks lost, and you see him out there in the defense, and he's making these loopy throws over to Vladdy, and it doesn't look like he really gives a crap. And then he strikes out on 3 pitches, and it's whatever. And again, like, this is all speculatory, right? Because I don't know Bo Bichette personally. I wish I did. I wish I could speak to him and pick his brain on this. So I'm just speculating, like you guys are, searching for an answer watching the games. But I think that there is also a mental element here where we're losing. It sucks. I want to be winning. Like, do I really need to give 100%? And I do think that that's taken a toll.
If you were the manager of the Toronto Blue Jays, would you be starting? Who would you be starting in your lineup tonight against the Tigers, assuming Kevin Gausman is your starter?
Well, for starters, we won the game, so that's great. But Danny Jansen's got to be in the lineup every single day. I mean, I know that we're worried about injury, but put him at the DH, right? Like you can lock him in there if you're really worried about the injury. Just put him there because the guy is incredible at baseball. So he's got to play. Obviously, David Schneider, I think at this point, John Schneider has learned his lesson and he is putting him in the lineup every single day. So that's great. But David Schneider's got to be there. Guerrero, yes, Bo Bichette probably as well. I do think that Bo could use a day off here and there, but coming off of a good game, so he's got to be in it. Who else? I would probably have Justin Turner in there. I mean, yes, Isaiah kind of. You know what? Let's go Ernie Clement. We can toss Ernie Clement in there as well. What do you guys think about George Springer? Should George Springer is the answer for George Springer to play him more later down the lineup or to sit him? What would you guys do?
I would personally, depends on who's pitching. If it's a lefty, I think you have him later on in the lineup. But if it's a righty, I don't see any reason why he. I think there's an argument to be had that he should be sitting and Biggio should be in right or something like that. Because I think right now Biggio's been a better hitter than Springer. I think Springer's in the bottom 3 in all the American League in OPS right now.
He is.
Or minimum plate appearances or something. So it's George Springer's a complicated one because obviously we gave him so much money, but he has not been getting it done right now, quite simply. And then so I was watching the stream last night, right? And you weren't there when Bichette hit the home run, but Adam was, and obviously the home run jacket returned, and Adam's reaction was priceless. What did you think about the return of the home run jacket?
Yeah, I loved it. I was there for that moment, and then I had to leave right afterwards. But yeah, I'm all in on the home run jacket, guys. At this point, look, you heard I think it was the Boston Red Sox. They took iPads out of the dugout. You know what I mean?
That was great.
Right, and then it's they start hitting better, and it I don't know, we are losing. So let's try something here, right? The home run jacket was fun. I don't really understand why they took it away in the first place. Okay, fine, you don't want the home run jacket. We'll get something else, right? The Baltimore Orioles have a beer funnel, that they do whenever they hit a home run, right? And those guys are killing it, So get something if this is going to incentivize you or bring back a little bit of life into this team. Then we should have done it 40 games ago, Now we are in the season, we're down, but hey, if I can see some more home runs and thank the jacket for it, I am all in on it.
And then what did you make of Ross Atkins' press conference? Because seems the offense apparently is very encouraging right now. That's one takeaway. There's lots of encouraging signs. When asked what the signs were, he just said that the signs are encouraging. So I don't know what you took away from it, but
some encouraging things in our offense that.
When you say you're seeing encouraging signs, what are those signs?
Some encouraging things in our.
Well, okay, so that's why I know that you watched my video this morning. That's why I say that he got exposed basically by the media because this guy's coming out on Saturday and he's going, yeah, we got to trust the process, we got to stay patient. This team, there's so much talent on this team. We're not at a place yet where, we can even consider getting new talent in or anything like that. And then, you hear literally 2 days later, oh, actually your 2 biggest players, you have engaged in trade conversations. So I think it's a whole load of crap, honestly, everything that he said. I think Ross Atkins has the most cookie cutter responses out of anyone in sports. And I understand that there is absolutely a time and place for that. This is just what it is to be a figure in the media. But there also comes a point where you look at your team and you go, I got to kick him in the ass a little bit right now. And I feel like that was just missing from that press conference on Saturday. And we're all fans. We're all smart people well enough, that we've seen what this team is capable of. Have you guys really seen a lot of encouraging signs, encouraging things from this team? Be honest.
Honestly,
You know?
with the way that this offense is going, the home run jacket's going to turn into some like underlying numbers jacket or an exit velocity jacket. Like if you hit it over 95, you get to wear the jacket or something.
That's what it's got to be, man. Like, or else we're gonna wear the jacket like 2 times in the next month.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right. Well, thank you very much for doing this, Nick. We're running out of time, so we got to wrap this up. But thank you very much. We appreciate it a lot. This is a really cool experience for us. Go Jays, go!
Go Jays, go!
Okay. See ya. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Nick.
Take care, guys. Thanks a lot for
You
having
too.
me.